This is my student. Normally, we would be face to face from each other. Okay? But because of the round table, it's easier for everybody to see, we'll be side by side, but normally face to face. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do a sequential exercise. Now in my teacher's guide, it says the student places the letters in a semicircle in front of her, but we're assuming now that she knows how to place her letters, so we will be doing missing letter deck. So I'm going to show her the cards, and I'm going to ask her to give me the sequence. And this is why we should be face to face, because now I have to turn, and so does she.
Can I just ask, with another student, would you assume that they know the sequence, or would you always do the sequential step?
I would, when it says the student places the letters, and when I see that they can place them with ease without looking at a model, the next time I'm going to do these cards, because I know they can place them now. Okay. Now, if we had a group of students, one thing I should mention, in the groups or classrooms, it does very well. This program was built for one-to-one, but in a group it can be done. As long as you group the kids or the adults who have the same level of difficulty. Age is not a factor, same level of difficulty. Now we won't get into dyslexia in terms of the names of them, but if you have dyslexia and difficulty with sounds, you want to group them together. If you have dyslexia where they have the visual aspect, group them together. The ones who have both types, group them together. And because in certain parts of the program it does matter, because one will be holding back the other one or giving the answers. So you can have the group, but have them in groups that they're at the same level of difficulty. It'll work very well. Okay? So, I want you to name the letters.
A, and the last one?
And the missing one.
Oh, the missing one. A, B, C. T, U, V.
It's meant to be hard.
Q, R, S. I have to translate too. I have to think in French, I'm sorry.
Okay.
E, F, G.
Well, I don't have to translate, and I have to say the alphabet.
Okay. So that's great, because then when we do this over and over again, you'll be quick to identify letter comes before and after. It does get better with time.
So it's even good for somebody who's learning the language, no matter what.
But you can see you need to know the alphabet at this point.
I've been trying for 50 years. And I've been teaching kids to do that, so it's not like as though I haven't had the opportunity to practice.
R, S, T, X, Y, Z.
Okay, so then we go through all the cards. So that would be our sequential exercise.
How many cards would be in that deck?
Okay, there are 4 sets of these, 4 levels of difficulty.
Okay.
And the first level of difficulty, I don't have it here, it's where the last letter is missing. That's the easiest one.
Okay.
So you'd have the A, B, but C would be missing.
But you go through the whole alphabet? Like
Yeah, all 26.
All 20. So there'd be 26 cards in each set.
Right, 26 times 4. And this is the next level of difficulty. Third. And the fourth is first and last letters missing. So this is very difficult. Do that towards the end.
Do you have to have 100% accuracy before proceeding to?
Yeah,
You do?
next level, yes. It should be comfortable. They should not be hesitating too much. Yeah.
Gee, I'm glad you didn't give me the hardest one.
No, I know. Wouldn't do that. Okay, now at the grapheme and keyword review, we are reviewing our letters that we learned so far. We are at lesson 6. So we have 5 letters to review. These are letters that we've learned. So I'm just going to ask her, she's looking at the printed letter. I'm going to ask her to name the letter.
I, P, S, N, T.
Good. Now, with those letters, we have also learned keyword cards. That's helping us remember the sound. I'm going to ask her to give keyword and sound. Now, she didn't learn these, so we'll have to help her out.
Yeah, because I don't know.
Igloo,
Uh,
nest, pizza, p, turtle, t, soup. Now, third part is I'm going to show you the card again, but I want you to give the sound while writing the cursive letter on your desk.
okay.
So you're looking at the card, and you got to go I. Cursive form, give the sound.
So I don't say I
You say the sound I.
Have you already taught her how to?
At this,
No.
I did. Not,
Yeah, not me, but
yeah, lesson 1 I did.
Okay.
Yep. Good. Yeah.
yes.
We start cursive right from the start. It's a lot easier for the flow of the letter.
There are several programs that do that too.
Yep.
Association method, Jabard's method.
Yep.
They only use cursive writing. They never use print at all. In fact, they only show cursive writing on the cards. They never show print.
Well, Orton Gillingham shows printed because that's what you see in books.
Yes.
So they have to make the connection between the printed letter is the same as the cursive letter.
But when they write
Cursive.
in cursive all the
Yes.
time.
Grade 1, 5, all ages. Yep. Now is a phoneme review. I made my own sheet for you. It's right on this. So now we review the sounds. So remember, you got I and M. That means initial and medial. That means when I give you the sound, how do you spell it in the initial or medial position of the word? And how do you spell it in final? Now again, we skipped 5 lessons and we're just throwing her into 6, so it's a lot. I'll help you out.
Okay. Because
Okay.
I don't know.
I give you the sound. What's the letter? Name the letter.
S.
Okay. How do we write S in the initial or medial position? Good. And how do we spell the sound F? S in final position. That's it. Now I see on my cards here, I have multiple responses for the end and the beginning, but I didn't teach it to her yet. So I don't expect her to write it. Okay? When I introduce C in front of I and E, and I taught it, then when I give the sounds, she's supposed to write S, comma, C, because she's learned it. And she'll learn when do I use S and when do I use C. So when we teach her the rules, we also tell her when to use them. So here's where we're talking about review. So now I expect her to write what she's learned daily, so she reviews it, S, comma, C. And when do I use C and when do I use S? A lot of reinforcement. Okay? Next sound, I. Repeat
I.
it and name the letter. I.
I.
Okay,
I was thinking E, but I said no, it can't be E.
close. So we spell it the letter I in the initial and medial position. But I would have told her before that the letter I, having the sound I, is never seen at the end. So just put a bar, meaning none. Good. Name the letter.
N.
And how do we spell it? And we also see the letter N having the sound N in final, as in 10.
T.
Good. And we also see it at the end? Yeah.
P.
Yeah, we do. On the top. So this final position is helpful usually with the single consonants, we see it in initial and medial and also in final. But later on, it's when we have, for instance, digraph CH. We have CH at the beginning, but in final position, we can either have TCH or CH. And there's some sounds that are not spelt in the beginning, but they're spelt a certain way in final. So NG, we never see it at the beginning, but we see it in final. Okay? So this makes a lot more sense to them when they can see that, well, just because you spelt a sound a certain way in initial meal position doesn't necessarily mean it'll be spelt the same way in final. So what this does, it puts it into a neat order. And then when it comes time to spell the word like batch, they will retrieve this. And they will go b, a, and they hear ch at the end. So they will immediately think about this. And I hear ch at the end after a vowel. It has to be TCH. So they're going to pull that up. But we were doing this every day. So she did this at lesson 6. We did it from lesson 1 to 5. We just keep adding a new letter. So today we're learning L. We're not going to do this. We'll do this in the following lesson. I will say the sound O is spelled with an L at the beginning, but we also see it at the end. And we keep adding. So we review and keep adding. So they know this.
Do you learn it alphabetically, or
No.
is there another sequence logic that you learn your letters in?
In the program, the logic is we've introduced letters that usually cause less difficulties. No B's and D's, the simple consonants, like we wouldn't start with the blands, or we wouldn't start with W or double vowels. We start with letters that they can make a lot of words with, like pin, sit, sat.
You teach the vowels first then?
Pardon?
You teach the vowels first?
No, we teach a consonant first. No, we teach a vowel first, but they don't read with it. The second lesson, we add the letter T. Now they can read it, and then we add N. So the more letters that we add, the more they can read with.
And so the vowels come in between certain
Yes,
consonants?
that's right.
Okay.
So if I look at this, you probably taught them the I first,
Yeah,
and then,
but I don't have to give you the spelling of sounds in that order.
Okay.
Actually, I don't want to give you them in order, because you're going to memorize the order. You're going to say, well, I know it's I, T, and P, and nothing done in order, because it'll memorize. Okay, so that's for the phoneme review. Now, kinesthetic and tactile. We are going to review just 2 letters. We're going to start with, I want you to trace the letter with your 2 index fingers. It's a little difficult to stay on the line. And I want you to name it, okay?
J.
I.
Oh, it's an I, I thought it was an R. I.
Okay. Now, I want you to skywrite the letter I, your straight arm, and name it.
I.
Good. Now we'll do one more. Trace the letter with your 2 index fingers. So you can use anything that has a tactile feel to it. Sandpaper, sand.
Tell me why again you use 2 fingers? What was that?
'Cause you're making the connection in your left and right brain. Left brain being the name and the right brain being the picture.
Do you not find that that makes it difficult for the child to see what they're tracing?
To see what they're tracing?
Yeah.
No, you
2
can.
fingers don't get in the way?
No.
Okay.
Then skywrite the letter. Name it.
P.
Okay.
Oh, it does get in the way a little bit, but you've got the raised, the braille. That makes a difference.
Yeah. Okay. So we review those 2 letters. Yes.
Yes.
They're in alphabetical order.
And why are those cursive?
They always write with cursive.
Oh, yeah, so there's skywriting, right.
Skywrite, writing the book, tactile, everything they write is cursive. Everything they see is print. Concept review. So we're going to review our concept cards that we've learned so far. So you don't have to memorize them. I'm just going to read them to you. Okay, so I have the back, which I'm going to read, and she just looks at the picture. Vowels are open sounds, which means the sound is not controlled by the tongue, teeth, lips, or throat. Now these concepts, when they were introduced, I talked about these in great detail at the time. Now I'm just reviewing them. So I talked about this before. A syllable is a word or part of a word with one vowel sound. The syllable for closed syllable is VC. A closed syllable is a syllable that ends in one or two consonants. The vowel sound is short. A consonant is a block sound, which means the sound is controlled by the tongue, teeth, lips, or throat. A vowel is in a closed syllable has a short sound. A base word is the smallest unit of an English word that makes sense. We'll do one more. A monosyllable word is a word of one syllable. So all these concepts were reviewed when they were introduced at a particular lesson. I know when they were introduced because they're numbered on the bottom. And all I'm doing now is reviewing them.
And a 5-year-old understands what you're talking about.
Pardon?
And a 5-year-old would understand what you're talking about?
Yes, now it might take them a few days, but they do.
You only teach one at a time.
Eh?
You teach one.
Yeah, yes. This is just, I'm reviewing.
When you do the review, you're just typing or you can assist with typing or speaking?
No, if you say a noun is a word that names a person, place, or thing, if they say, well, I still don't understand, take a few moments and talk about it.
But might they say they understand anyway, just to sort of keep you happy?
You never want to set them up for failure, so you would never say, what is this? If they want to try to, don't want to use the word guess at it, but give it a try, they can say, well, let me try to say it. And they might say it in their own words, or they might say it exact, and that's okay. Once they know it, once they know the concept, then you can remove the card.
I think it's important to stress that you're teaching dyslexic children, not children that might have a low IQ, because keeping track of all of these rules, I could see this is and verbalizing them would be very difficult for a child who fits more into the, low IQ range.
You're absolutely right. This Orphan Gillingham program was designed for dyslexics, but at the center I tried it personally with someone who had a low IQ. Now, mind you, it wasn't severe. Okay, it was a mild retardation, very mild, and worked very well.
Somebody like in the borderline range.
Yeah.
But I think that children who are in the borderline and the intellectual range of IQ often have different things that interfere, hearing, vision,
yeah,
that interfere with their learning as well. So I think you have to be aware that it's really
That's right.
focused. This method's really focused on a child that has a level playing field.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But this method would work with somebody who has no dyslexia at all.
Yes, it would.
It would work with any children, except if you are retarded, of course.
That's right.
Well,
Correct.
it might even.
It would work.
It's just that different parts of it.
Yeah.
Some of the higher
Especially
concepts.
the concepts.
Some of the higher
there
concepts.
might be more difficult.
That's
the
right.
rest of it, I think, would.
And again, with a child with maybe 5 and a half, some of the concepts,
Yeah.
you don't have to talk about a noun right now.
Right.
So I could say then, if this was to be used in any school, then everybody would be able to learn how to read, write, and spell.
It's true.
But the other methods that are being used right now, the modern methods or whatever
Mm-hmm.
method they're using, it's not working with everybody.
Oh, that's right.
It's just working for a certain portion of
That's right.
the children.
That's right.
Don't you think though there's a bit of a danger here though? It's, we're teaching children with a method such as this, we're teaching people to decode. But there's a great deal more to reading than that.
That's right.
There's a comprehension component that isn't there at all. It's, you know, glaringly absent at this point. With the reading part, I understand you
We
would
do.
read to them until such time as they could read for
That's
themselves.
right. They do their own reading comprehension. Yes, they
And
do.
that's how you combine
That's
the
right.
meaning, you get the meaning component in there.
Yeah. Well, we start very early, even in lesson 6, help them how to verbalize and visualize, because that's an aspect that often is lacking. And why they have difficulty with reading comprehension is they're not visualizing or verbalizing. So we start with that right from the beginning, looking at pictures in their student book. And they're not elaborate pictures, they're just very simple. Ask them to give some detail. Okay, auditory exercises now. So, I'm going to say a sound, some sounds. If you hear the same sound, use the same color block. A different sound, a different color. I wish to remind you that the letters, the sounds, don't have to be, you don't have to match the sound to a color. Like for instance, the sound t does not have to be a pink. You choose your own colors, okay? Are you ready? But wait till I'm finished. That would be very easy, wouldn't it, eh? Okay. First one. P, t, p. Good. First and last sound were the same? Okay, now I'll give the next sequence. We'll do 4 this time. I, t, t, p. Very well.
It's difficult though.
It is difficult. But it's going to help you with your auditory memory.
So what you're saying is, from what you said before, is you go up to how many letters?
12.
12?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Auditory memory is something like your muscles that can be worked.
Okay.
It is. But we don't start off, we start with 3.
Yeah.
And this is, we do, in book 1 we do 4, and then in book 2 we do 5 and 6, but we're doing that every day. Okay. Now, here's your student book. You can write in it. I want you to underline the letter S and circle the letter P.
Circle the letter P, underline the letter.
We see when I was on the board, it's not always obvious. It is not easy, eh?
Oh, flippet info.
She has to constantly change her mind.
And you're encouraging tracking and having the child go from left to right
Yes.
in sequence,
That's
rather than letting them just go all the way through and find the P's and all the way through.
No. Yeah,
That would be too easy.
that would be too easy.
Well, it's also, you're teaching them an organization
Mhm.
that way, you know.
Yeah, we did that in lesson 1 and 2. Okay. Directionality now. In your rectangle, draw an arrow in the center of the rectangle. Anywhere in the center. Okay. Now we're going to learn a new letter. You don't need that. Okay. To learn a new letter, we're going to use the pencil frame. These are available, we have them available at our center. They're also available at Educators Publishing in Scarborough. I don't have the number offhand. They're called the, the pencil frame. Now, notice there's one side that's longer than the other. Okay? Are you right-handed or left-handed? Right. So am I. So the longest side, you want your writing hand to rest on the longest side. Okay? So yeah, put the pencil frame like this. Put it in, any pencil. And how they use it is they rest their hand on the frame. It's not a writing tool. What this does is it ensures that this muscle is moving in order for them to have the memory of movement of that letter. It's not a handwriting tool, so this muscle moves. So they rest their hand on the frame and they push it. Now, you know when it's backwards, when I have the smallest side, you see my hand touches the paper, it's not supposed to. So this would be for left-handedness. Okay?
What did you say, smallest side towards the thumb? Okay.
Yeah, smallest side towards the thumb.
Where did you say you could get those? I really like that.
Educators Publishing in Scarborough.
Who uses that besides?
If you have more difficulties, can be used. It is just, keep in mind it's not for handwriting.
No.
You can't handwrite. Anytime you want to learn the shape of a letter, because this is the muscle that remembers. If you order them, order a large quantity. They're cheaper that way. They're very expensive if you order just single, plus the shipping and handling.
Would you have the student trace the letter first?
Yes. Now, okay, so we explained the frame. Now we're learning a new letter. Here's a mirror. I'll tell you what to do. Okay, repeat the following words after me, looking at your mouth in a mirror. Listen for the sound in the initial position first. We talked about initial lesson 1. Lettuce,
Lettuce,
lamp,
lamp,
leaf,
leaf,
link.
link.
Okay? Which sound is in the initial position? Ooh. Yes, the sound is ooh. Now touch your vocal cords to see if they vibrate as you say the sound. Ooh. Do you feel a vibration?
Yes.
Yes. That means it's voice. Now look at your mouth again. When you say the sound, is that sound controlled by either your tongue, teeth, lips, or throat? Ooh. Ooh.
Tongue.
Yeah. Now, they don't have to say by what it's controlled, as long as they say it's controlled. Yes. That sound is controlled, therefore it is a consonant sound. Consonants are controlled. Now, the name of the letter is L. Say L.
L.
Our keyword is lamp, and the sound is ul. Say keyword and sound.
Lamp. L.
Good. So, she looked at the printed letter. Now I'm going to go to the board. Now the printed letter L, the one we use for reading, looks like that, same one that's on our green card. The cursive letter L, the one we use for writing, starts in the middle and we pull straight down. That's our writing letter L. While looking at the model, I'd like you to trace the letter while skywriting it. So you can sit there and I want you to skywrite the letter, tracing it, and name it.
O,
L.
L,
And one more time.
L.
Okay, good. You should be looking at the model. Now, in our alphabet. So the question was, when we taught a letter, we're also teaching the cursive form now. So we talked about the name, the key word, and now the cursive. I want you to trace the letter with your 2 index fingers. Name it.
L.
Remember, multi-sensory. Now, You can hold the frame, just like that. But first I want you to trace the letter once with your fingertips. Name it.
O,
L.
L.
Normal for them to get the sound and name confused at the beginning. Now, trace it with the frame. Name it.
L.
One more time.
L.
What I'm doing is I'm following exactly what's in the teacher's guide. So we started at 10:30, and it gives you a good idea. And on top of that, we were discussing. So you'll see our lesson does not usually last an hour. Make a copy and name it.
L.
Okay. Now make 2 copies. 1 copy here and 1 copy there.
L. L.
So in a group, they all have their own student books, and they'd be doing it. They usually follow at the same time. Very well. Now make 2 copies, but with your eyes closed. Pardon me?
If I don't do it properly.
That's okay. As long as she gets the form of it, we're going to fine-tune it in handwriting.
L.
You just
That's
working
okay.
on patterning there. Teaching the sequence of the movement.
Pardon?
You're working on the sequence of the movement.
Yeah. In handwriting, that's when we're going to perfect it. Now, she kind of skipped there. What we normally do is we have them write only on the page, but because there's a cloth here, it doesn't. Okay, we'll put that aside. So we're still in new learning of the letter. I want you to name the letter in skywrite.
L.
Good. So again, looking at the printed form, cursive, and the movement. Now, name and write the letter L, number 7.
L.
Say the key word and the sound.
Lamp. O.
Name the letter, then give keyword and sound.
L. Lamp. O.
Good. Now I want you to repeat the sound, name the letter, then give keyword. O,
O.
L,
Lamp.
O.
O.
Okay. Repeat the sound and write the letter. O.
O.
Good. So we just learned our new letter. Now we're going to take our letter L and we're going to add it to our deck for review in the following lesson. So we keep adding. Okay. So handwriting, that's when we're going to perfect. You can use your pencil if you'd like. So what I'd like you to do is to trace, we'll work on the lowercase cursive, trace the letter, and then make several copies. Okay, that's enough. We expect that her handwriting be perfect here. So, not necessarily do the whole page, as long as it's done neatly. Now we have a health break, but you don't need one, eh? Now in lesson 6, we don't have any non-image words. But if we did, that's what it would look like. Lesson 9, non-image word at. We would give the students or student the definition and examples on how to use it. And from those examples, the student would then write a picture of what at means to them. And again, we give them about a minute or 2, and they can finish the rest at home. Next is read words, and again in lesson 6 we don't have any. There's not many in English. This is what the red word page looks like. So we tell the student that this word does not follow the regular spelling. There should be 2 L's. So they have to memorize this word. And what they have to do, I'll let you do it, is they have to trace the letters with the pencil frame while naming each letter. Okay? So to trace it, I'm going to go much better this way. P-A-L, pal. So they have to learn this word using all the senses, because it is we're using the whole language approach, but multisensory. So trace the letters while naming them.
Do you ever discuss what the word means, or how you'd use the word pal?
Yeah.
You would do that?
Yeah.
Why is it an irregular word?
Yeah.
Because it's just exactly the sounds. Put at, oh, like why would
Well, at the end.
Yeah.
If it had 2 L's at the end, it would be all. Really, that sound shouldn't change.
Because he taught them that if the word has 1 syllable ending in the sound or s, they have to double it. So this is not going with their rule, so the majority of the words follow this rule. So they have
they're
to,
basically teaching them that final consonants after a short vowel, you will double.
Oh, just those.
FLS, yep. So I taught this in lesson 10. So therefore this is irregular.
And these are in that book you're talking about, like this is the autumn giving, sort of
Yep.
one of those rules
That's right.
that we can get.
Mm-hmm.
I want a book of just the rules.
In the book that I told you about this morning has the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know about these rules.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really good.
Are they taught in grade school, any of these rules?
No, they use.
There must be some teachers here.
Sorry, but that depends on which school you're talking about. I mean, it depends on which program the teacher's using, and if the child's having resource, or, you know, some schools teach different ways. I wouldn't make a blanket statement that they're not taught in schools.
The doubling rule is that.
That doubling rule, though, was taught, is taught in a morphographic spelling program, and it's, I don't think I agree with that. I wouldn't teach those consonants double on the end of a CVC word. But, because there's, like the word pal, is a CVC word, and there's lots of CVC words that don't have double consonants on the end.
Mhm.
But I would use a morphographic spelling program and parts of that to teach the doubling rule. Doubling the final consonant on CVC word.
These rules were used way back when. And that's why when we do testing of adult dyslexic who are taught the spelling rules and sounds, they are on paper less dyslexic because they were taught the rules.
I think the key is that I really like that there's a very progressive, sequential approach that's multisensory.
Mm-hmm.
And some teachers need to be given that, like they need to have that progression and that sequence to follow. But there's like umpteen different programs that do follow sequences like that.
Mm-hmm. They're all great. All Orth and Gillingham programs are similar. They're all great. You know what varies is how the lesson plan's laid out. The only difference. Okay, now we're at reading. We'll start with our syllable cards. We'll read a few. I just want you to read these cards, please.
Sit. Tis.
Tis, yeah. Not tis, because we don't learn S having the Z sound yet.
Sin. Sis. Nis. Sit.
Is.
Is, not is.
It's a syllable.
Sil. List.
List, good. Now we are review our non-image word cards. These are our non-image that we learned.
It. In.
Okay. If we had red words, we would review them here also. on cards. Now we will review our spelling. Now with the spelling, I taught her in lesson 2 that she's not to guess at the word, she's supposed to decode it. And how she's going to decode it is, on the first page here is our nonsense words, they're not real words. She has to code the word with a breve or a brev over the I, because this is telling you that this vowel I has a short sound I. So the students has to do the coding. The reason why coding is so important is when we get to multi-syllable words and how to divide them, they need to know what vowel sound in what syllable. Give you an example of that. That microphone next door is really, really strong. Yeah, I'll speak louder. Okay, the coding is important for reading because in English there are 6 syllable types. And depending on what type of syllable you have will determine the vowel sound. Now, in lesson 2, they were taught that this is the word it. And a lot of them probably knew it. But we had to teach them, well, the letter T only has 1 sound. But letter I here, depending on in what syllable it's in, can have a different sound. So why in this case does it say I? We have to tell them that. Because it's in a closed syllable. And that's why it says I. If I was in an open syllable, it would say I. So we have to teach them syllable types. Now in lesson 2, we taught what is a closed syllable. A closed syllable is when you have 1 consonant or 2 coming after the vowel, you have a closed syllable. When you have a vowel in a closed syllable, that vowel will have its short sound, and this is the mark that we use. You see that in dictionaries. You call it a breve or a brev. And that's an indication that that vowel has its short sound. So all the vowels have short sounds. And the word egg. So when you have a vowel that's being followed by 1 or 2 consonants, you have a closed syllable. And that vowel sound will be short. So we teach them closed syllables, but we stay with closed syllables for a long, long time. Eventually, we teach them the remaining syllables. And I will take 10 minutes and go through that. So closed syllable is the first one. The next syllable type is what we call an open syllable. And that's when you have no consonants coming after your vowel. Then you have an open syllable. A vowel in an open syllable says its name. So here in the word be, I got a vowel, but I got no consonant coming after it, therefore my vowel will say its name. In the word apron, the first syllable is A. There is no consonant after in that syllable. There's a letter P, but it's in another syllable. So A, yeah, we explained to them syllable division, yeah. That's right. That's right. Then it would change the word. P-R-O-N, O, being followed by a consonant, got a closed syllable. So in this word apron, I got an open syllable and I got a closed syllable. So again, they need to know. Because O in a closed syllable says ah. A in an open syllable says a. So therefore, they can decode the word. They look at the word, they will divide it.
How do you handle final E words like pine?
How do you handle?
Final E words like pine or oak, cape,
Cape?
C-A-P-E. That was the sound Vietnamese.
C-A-P-E. Okay. So that'll be the next one I'll do. So that's an open syllable. So we had close, open. Next syllable is vowel, consonant, E syllables. A vowel, consonant, E syllable is you have a vowel, you have a consonant, and you have a silent E at the end. Vowel, consonant, silent E. A vowel in this type of syllable will always say its name. So it's a third syllable type. And in English there are, like I said, 6 syllable types. And the reason why there are 6 syllable types is because they're saying specific with the vowel situation in every type. So you could say, well, the vowel, consonant, E syllable is the same as the open syllable. Not necessarily. Because in the word secret, here we have an open syllable, and the last sound we hear is a vowel sound, E. In a vowel, consonant, E syllable, the last sound we hear is a consonant. So all types are in different categories. So you have open syllables, closed syllables, vowel, consonant, E syllables. Yes?
Did you ever use, say, color coding to clue the child into rules like this? Like having the A and the E different color?
We tried that a few years ago. It
You didn't find it?
didn't make much difference, no. Now the next syllable type, vowel R syllables or R controlled. It's when you have a vowel and one R. So, again, they're in a category on their own because you have a vowel and it looks like a closed syllable because it's being followed by 1 or 2 consonants. But we know that E in a closed syllable says eh, right? So we don't say fern, we say fern. A in a closed syllable says ah, but we say star. So they're not closed syllables, they are controlled. That's why they needed the whole category on their own. 2 more. Next ones are final stable syllables. These are, they're always at the end, they're in final position, and they're stable. Final stable syllables are all the consonant LE syllables. CLE, DLE, GLE, FLE, truffle, uncle, all the consonant LEs, and they're all at the end. Again, they're in a group by themselves because there's no vowel sound, and they're at the end. Last one, vowel pair. 2 vowels together. And the reason why they're in a group on their own because they're not open sounds, they're not closed sounds, they're different sounds. 2 vowels together. It's reminding you never to separate the vowel.
The vowels always have to be the same.
Nope. This is a vowel pair syllable, but it's reminding you never, this digraph AI says A, and don't separate it. So they need to know these syllable types because, I need examples. Okay, get the word teach. They look at it, and here comes the coding. Got digraph EA says E normally. Digraph CH, underline it. We underline digraphs to remind us never to separate them. I don't need to divide this word into syllables because I only have one vowel sound. So therefore this says teach. And trying to find different words here. Okay, so why knowing what type of syllable is important? Because when they come across words and they learn all six syllable types, they need to know that because the syllable type will determine the vowel sound. You can have a few sounds. A has many sounds. So depending on what syllable type it's in will determine the vowel sound. So they will divide the word into syllables. We teach them syllable division. Then they code. I got U in an open syllable. We'll say its name. Got A in a closed syllable. Human. Not human, but human, because my U is alone in the syllable. Here I got A-T-E, the vowel, consonant E syllable. Debate. This syllable is half long. I won't go through that right now. And the same thing with that one, decode. So they need to know what syllable type they're dealing with, because that's going to determine the vowel sound. The word here, center. Got E in the closed syllable. It says eh. This E is not a closed syllable, it's a vowel R syllable. It says center. So we teach them the skills for reading, they apply the same rules for spelling.
That's American spelling.
Pardon?
That's not Canadian spelling.
I know. We talk about that too in the program. So that's why when they're reading, they have to do the code marks. So when she's reading her book, she has to put the brief over the vowel to get used to all this kind of coding. So because this brief over I is telling you that's a closed syllable, therefore I has its short sound, that's why we code it with a brief. And it says if. Because you need to start here to get there. Now the coding seems like a lot. Eventually it becomes automatic. They don't have to code anymore. They I the word, and they can separate it, and they can just do the coding in their head. But we must train them to do it first. This way there's no more guesswork with, well, what sound does this vowel make? They can tell. It's in that syllable, it has to make the sound. And if it doesn't, it goes into the irregular category of words. So, now, time is good. I want you to code the word and read it. So in a group, what you can do is that they're at the same level, they can code and read together, or they can each take turns reading one line. But the other ones who are not reading must code and read in their head. So reading part is the only difficult where They can do it as a group or individually. So they can, if they can read together, great. If not, they can take their turns.
What would be the maximum group size?
Okay. Classroom.
Full classroom.
You'd have to modify some of the cards. They should be bigger. And it's because it's been done in a classroom size. Yeah. Again, it's not ideal, but it can be done. So code and read.
Sil, till, lin, pill, tis, if, pip, nin.
Now, we're going to read the real words. Same thing, I want you to code and read the words. The other page was just a phonetic exercise.
Just ask first, do you ever ask them like to sound the word out first?
If they have difficulty, yes.
Okay.
If they're trying to guess the word and they're starting to panic, then if they can sound it out, yeah. If they can read it, they can. If they have to go t, I, p, then that's fine too. Because eventually the gap between the letters will get smaller and smaller. And many do sound out.
Tin, tip, pin, lit, lip, sin, sip, it, tip, it.
Okay, that was reading. Now I'm going to do copy and dictation. Copy in here. Thanks. We're only going to do 3 at a time. Okay, look at these letters and name them.
L, P, N,
Name them from memory.
L, P, N,
Now write them. Naming them.
L, P, N,
Okay, now you check. Good. Next one.
T, L, I,
From memory.
T, L, I,
Write them here.
T, L, I.
Check. Last one.
I, N, L, I, N, L, I, N, L.
Good. Dictation on the bottom. Now I will say some letters. When I'm finished, you're going to write them. LPS. I'll say them again and verify. LPS. Next one. STI. I'll say them again. STI.
Is it always 3 letters?
We start off with 3. It's going to move to 4.
To 4, okay.
And then 5. Now, phonological awareness. I'm going to put these cards in front of you. Now this gets really interesting when we have many cards, and then we can play around with vowel sounds and spelling rules. Okay. Show me the sound O. If that is O, show me ill. That is ill, show me till. If that is till, show me tip. Now, they don't have to be real words. They can be nonsense words, they can be real words, but they have to be regular for spelling. Regular for spelling. And changing only 1 letter at a time. That is tip, show me tin. Now let's do lin. Lis. So what we do here is changing 1 letter at a time, non-words that are regular, and no blends. We didn't learn blends yet, so we cannot do the blends. And book 3 is when we start the blends, and you'll have cards that have their separate blend deck, where you'll have the BL or the PL on 1 card. So you don't have to use 2 cards. The blend deck is separate. So you keep doing that for a few minutes. And again, we have a lot of vowel sounds. This is when you could practice. If they have difficulty distinguishing between I and E, do a lot of I and E. If that is tis, show me tes. And just go back and forth. And, or if that is list, show me kiss. They have to think, K or C. So a lot of review, a lot of bringing back what we've already learned. Spelling. Now, I know she can get these words right because we practice them for phoneme review. So I'll give you the word. Take a pencil. I want you to repeat the word, and the word is lit.
Lit.
I want you to sound it out first.
L.
Sound.
U.
E.
T.
T. Now I want you to write it by sounding.
U. T.
Now I want you to code the word. That means put the breve. And read it. You got to proofread.
Lit.
Good. Next one. Lip. Sound it out first.
U.
I. P. Now spell as you sound.
L. I. P. Lip.
Okay. When you were writing, you're supposed to give the sound.
Okay.
But that's okay. You have
Same thing
difficulty with
now.
sound, eh?
I guess so.
Just phonetic. Next one. Pit. I. T. Now sound it out as you write. I. T. Now code it and read. Okay,
Pit.
good. So that's what we do. We give them the word. If it's a regular word, they sound it out. If it's irregular, then she just writes it. It doesn't sound out.
And these are all words you've already practiced a number of times.
Yep. And they've learned the letters, and they've learned the sounds. We wouldn't ask them to spell a word with a letter that we haven't taught them, because they won't get it right. They might not. And we don't set them up for failure. Now, tongue twisters. So pretend you have a stir stick, and you're going to repeat after me. So what you're going to do instead, you're going to hold your teeth down like that and talk. So repeat after me. The lady leaned.
The lady leaned
That's how it sounds. Lazily
lazily
on the loose lasso.
on the loose lasso.
Very good. Okay, now oral or written expression. Do you have anything to say? Now it's time to.
I'm sorry that I'm doing this.
Oh no, you're doing very well. Considering that we just jumped in lesson 6, we should have started lesson 1.
And this is my second language, so.
Very good. But that's good. As a second language, do you feel that it helps learning the individual letter?
Yes, and I realize that some sounds I don't necessarily pronounce it properly. Like to me, I always see E, but it's but I don't even say it properly. Anyways.
That's okay. That's why we do one lesson at a time. It attacks every aspect of that letter.
If you had an adult anglophone learning French, would you start at lesson 1?
Oh yeah. We would start in lesson 1.
I mean, they obviously can read in their first language.
But it's different on the second language.
But in the second, so you start at lesson 1.
No matter what, if you're doing it in your own language or as a second language, you have to start at lesson 1 because there's concepts that I didn't teach her. But what it means is I can go fast. I can maybe do three letters in one session. Okay? So she had some difficulty with her I, but we've been doing this for about an hour, and I took a break and talked about other things, so you can see it goes pretty smoothly. So I could probably do 3 letters with her in 1 hour session, for now.
So the only difference between learners can be in the speed.
Yep.
Everything else is constant.
Yeah, start at 1, and depends on the speed. I can probably do book 1 with her in 2 or 3 days. But with a child who's 6, maybe it might take me 2 weeks. But the lesson plan will be the same. We'll use the same cards, same block, same everything.
Same books.
Yep.
An adult would get this book.
They do. And like I said, I personally train these civil servants, and they loved it.
They have no problem with playing with belongings they're playing with.
No, they have no problem at all. And in fact, I'll tell you a little story. Using the plastic letters, I was teaching 2 of them. This is about 3 years ago. And very, very bright men. And they just couldn't learn the language. So we thought that instead of using the plastic letters, we'll get the alphabet on little cards, little flat cards. And so we're using them as they're placing these cards. Instead of the plastic letters, they see my set of letters on the desk for my other students. They say, "What's that?" I say, "Well, that's for the alphabet exercise." And they say, "Well, why can't we use these?" They want it. Yes?
Yeah, and if I can support that, others use for a blending exercise a ball moving back and forth. And at first look, this seems like a juvenile activity. It's a beautiful activity for building the auditory core. And all you have to do with the adult, the way you would if there was an injection, is explain clearly to them why you're doing it.
Yeah.
This is not an activity that's meant to be fun because you're rolling the ball. We're doing something here to exercise to the max the kinesthetic component, and therefore that's why we're doing it.
That's right.
And guess what? They're on board.
Yeah. We explain to them why we're doing it. This is a reading method. We say, "We know you know how to read the word it in PIN. We're just telling you why and how." Yeah. And once they know why and how, they got it. So you have nothing to say. Well, then I'm going to ask you, this is where we're going to do the verbalizing exercise. I want you to describe to me what you see.
I see a train.
Now, that's typically what they'll do, right? Well, is it a big train?
Normal size with 3 wagons and with some smoke
There,
coming out.
good.
And it's going on the right hand side, and it has wheels and bigger wheels for the first one, and the wagons are rectangular.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think it's going?
It's going on the right hand side.
But invent a place.
Oh, invent the place. Oh, Western Canada in
Okay.
the Rockies.
Mm-hmm. Are you in the train? Are you visiting?
No, because it looks like a train for to carry some merchandise of some sort.
Oh, okay. So we just get them talking and just give a lot of detail. They don't like detail.
There's track missing though.
The track's missing. Yes, well maybe at home on homework you can draw it.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Would you like that? Okay. Last part is I'm going to read her a story, which I won't, and we're going to verify comprehension. So I'm going to read a paragraph on something she enjoys. It has to be something she enjoys. So she's going to choose a book, and every day we're going to read a paragraph or a chapter of that book, and we'll talk about it. So that was the lesson plan. You did very well. Very well. Any questions? We still have about 10 minutes or so. Any
How
questions?
does a civil servant get trained? Daily, weekly, like in a school environment, I can see how a resource
Yeah.
teacher or whatever would have that hour every day, maybe. But how does a civil servant leave their job an
They
hour
do.
a day?
They do. They normally they have about 2 hours of this training. They get the maximum. They get 2 hours of this SMT, and they get 3 hours of grammar. A lot of them opt for a full day of the French training. So they have 2 hours of this with the SMT teacher and 3 hours of grammar, just straight grammar.
So are they on language training?
Yes.
Like school or something or wherever they go?
Sometimes it's at their office, sometimes it's at our office. It depends, or it could be at another language center.
So they're not on the job at the time except on language training?
That's right.
So there's no way to combine this training with ongoing work? Like you're saying,
Sure, they can.
You start off with 5 hours?
No, they can. They can just get this training. You're talking about after office hours?
Or, yes,
Definitely, yes.
so it's 1 hour per day,
They can do that.
and that's the most effective way to do it. It's not 1 hour per week stretched
No.
over, would not.
This has to be done minimum, ideally it's 5 times a week. Because we're doing a little bit, eh? But we have to do it often. So 5 times a week for about an hour, or the adults too. You can do it with 3 times a week, but nothing less than 3 times a week. And you wouldn't do it like 3 hours on a Monday and nothing the rest of the week.
Do you teach do you do the actual other parts of the language program besides, what you're doing with this is the sound system, teaching the French sound system?
Yep.
So do you go on to teach the other components of the language program as well, or do they go back to the ASTICU or to the other programs?
They can do either or.
Okay.
Either or. But yeah, they do this and only this. There is some grammar, yeah, there's some grammar. They will talk about verbs and all the French language, but we focus mainly on the sound and the structure. But yes, they will go to another learning
to
center.
answer your question, it would really depend, wouldn't it, on the level of the person's language facility to begin with, and what they were being trained for. I mean, there's different levels from what I understand in the government in terms of whether they want them to be fully immersed or whether they want them to just learn a basic conversation, or there's different, that determines the number of hours that they give them, I think.
Yeah, and I can see an automatic barrier because the way official language is set up, as I understand, there are certain, depending on your level, there are certain ways in which you get trained, or permitted to get trained, which are in chunks, like 3-hour chunks per week. That contradicts what you're saying about your methodology.
But I guess the ones that came and seen us must have had special privileges, because they get this daily. And not only they get this daily, they get the grammar daily also.
That must be job accommodation.
Eh?
That
It's
must be job
accommodation.
accommodation.
Comes under
Yes,
accommodation.
accommodation.
Yeah.
Are you doing this in the first language of the candidate?
Pardon?
You're doing this and the instruction is all in the first language?
Oh, yes.
So, and then when you come to a page like this, what language are you in?
In the language that we're learning. So for instance,
So that would be French.
well, no, we were doing the English.
No, but if you were training an
Anglophone in French, they would have to do this in French.
they'd do that in French.
Yeah, they do the verbalizing in French. That's right.
So you've got reduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're teaching a child who's going to school full time, and you're saying a minimum 3 times a week, I mean, are you saying that if you just did this, 1 hour a week, it would have no benefit? Or?
I wouldn't say it wouldn't have no benefit, but it'd take you a very long time.
So you'd say like a minimum 3 times?
Minimum.
Have you ever done that with children like after school? Like
Yeah, normally parents have to do it after school.
Yeah.
They either get the school, a special ed teacher, to do it in class time, or the parent will go to the school and give it to their child for an hour. Or if that cannot be accommodated, then after school the parent teaches the child at home. And
Have
that's,
you had success in getting special ed teachers to use this in the...
no, I'd say 50-50. 2 weeks ago I was in the Niagara region, and they called us to train, it was 18 of their teachers, and they're starting this right away. Yeah. Yeah, and then next week we're in the Quebec City area. 50-50. So if the parent asks the school to say, my child needs a service, is there a teacher that is qualified? If not, can you get one? And if that doesn't work, then a parent usually has to take it upon themselves to teach it.
How long is the training for somebody who wants to teach this method?
3 days. We offer 3-day sessions. Yeah.
What do you do in the training session? Sort of what you've done here?
Yeah, you learn the method, how to teach it, and then once you are certified yourself, because we will certify you, then you go on and train others.
Is that your Orleans office? Is it in Orleans?
No, it's in Ottawa.
Oh, in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Well, is there not a training program in Orleans? What do they use? Is it Canadian Dyslexic Association office there?
I don't think so.
Not in Orleans.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
It's in Ottawa.
In your opinion, if someone comes through for an assessment with your organization, do they typically continue with training with your association, or do they find their own training, or?
Again, it's 50-50. It's up to them what they want.
You make recommendations?
Yeah,
If
some-
they go outside of your
Right.
organization, you make recommendations?
If they tried everywhere else, sometimes they're discouraged and they'll want to try one-on-one with one of our specialized teachers. If they just started the training, then armed with the information they are dyslexic and they learn differently, they can bring that to their teacher they've been working with. And the teacher can just work a little different with them.
But they wouldn't be necessarily certified through your 3-day course?
No, no.
Which assessments do you use?
Pardon?
Screening clients, what assessments do you use?
Dyslexia determination test is one of them. We have copies of that test in the Imperial Room. It's called
You
the...
had a French copy yesterday, though.
Eh?
I thought you only had a French copy there yesterday. Do you have an English?
No, there's the English copy too. There's the version for children, which is the DDT. The adult one that we use is the ADT, Adult Dyslexia Determination Test. And those tests will tell you whether or not they have dyslexia, what kind, and to what degree. So that's a good idea if you're going to be grouping your kids or your adults and to have them, well, we want the dyseidetics together, dysphonetics together, and the ones who have both together.
Is the test set up in such a way that anyone could administer it, or does that be administered by someone with some psychology training?
Not necessarily, but it takes about 2 years to master. Very difficult test to administer because you have to hear, the most difficult part is you have to determine a reading level, but you have to hear, are they decoding so fast that it appears that this is a sight word? And you have to make that distinction. Are they sounding it out so quick, or is it a sight word? And that's really important to give a dyslexia diagnosis. But yeah, we offer the 1-day training course for testing, but that is the only one that you cannot be certified for. We can train you how to do it, but you cannot be certified.
What is the length of the test, like to administer the test? Would you do it all in one session?
Yes, we do, but we don't just do that test. We have to do other tests to support that, because you cannot just give a dyslexia test and say, well, they're dyslexic. You need a visual test, IQ test, etc. The battery of tests that we administer runs about 2.5 hours long.
Do you use the Slingerland screening?
No.
At what age, what is the youngest you can have for testing?
There is a pre-dyslexia test that's also available in the front. It's called a PLCT. And you can do that one as early as kindergarten. Unfortunately, though, that one will only give you an at-risk. So if they fail it, they are at risk of being dyslexic. You cannot say 100% for sure. So after middle grade 1, then you can do the dyslexia determination test, and it'll give you an accurate score. So there's an advantage to administer that test in kindergarten. You can start some kind of program right away, but it's not 100%.
There's some kind of rules that govern who can make the determination as to whether or not a child is dyslexic. Is there any kind of that rule that says somebody has to have the certification in order to say that the child's dyslexic? And if not, is the determination recognized? Who recognizes it?
The courts recognize it. Most of them will recognize it. The difficulty lies is when we make a diagnosis and the parent brings the report to school and my child needs a Northern Gillingham program or a specialized program, the teacher or the school might say, well, yes, we have a similar program that worked just great. So in a sense, yes and no. They say, yes, we do recognize it, but we have our own method, and it's not always successful. But more information on the test, they're available in the last room. So like I said, there's one French test, and there's 3 English ones, the adult, the kindergarten, and the grade 1 to college level, the DDT. You can take a look at them, you can purchase them.
But even some schools won't recognize dyslexia. They will say he has a learning disability.
Yeah. Well, like Susan Bart.
Psychologists
Even psychologists won't use
won't
dyslexia.
say dyslexia.
No.
They
No.
won't use the term.
No.
But the ministry definition of a learning disability does not include dyslexia. No, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
No. To meet the ministry definition of a learning disability, you have to have a discrepancy between achievement and measured potential, like potential measured on an IQ test. It's not specific to reading disability.
So you could get around it by getting an IQ test.
But there are
dyslexic.
that's right.
And then achievement.
But there are dyslexic children who won't show that big enough discrepancy. It has to be statistical discrepancy.
Because I was in that position. I had my daughter tested, as I said, this summer. In the spring when I went to the school. They've been following her all along, but I went with that and I was told you shouldn't have wasted your money. You need to go see a psychotherapist. And I'm thinking, well, I'd like to be able to work within the system. But, you know, from the point of view that in this case, let's say she tested with a high IQ, which makes her in a position where she's passing with getting C's, but she's obviously, if we could indicate to the school board in terms that
It's
they
not the school
understand,
board, it's the ministry. You have to talk to the ministry about their definition.
being able to break up the diagnosis from the ministry's point of view.
Well, the ministry gives the school boards the definitions of the exceptionalities, and the school boards are obliged to follow that
So
definition.
if I insisted that she get an IQ test,
Again, the IQ test might not necessarily give you the discrepancy.
with the results as a
Yeah, it depends. There's a lot of variables that make the difference. But I would go to a private psychologist because they do a lot more testing than a school board psychologist. A school board psychologist might have 150 kids on his list, run in and test, and he's got an hour and a half to sit down and work with the child. Whereas when you go to a private psychologist, they'll spend 8 hours with your child.
So you come back to the school with a psychologist's diagnosis with a psychologist that the school is recognized. Then
Most school boards would recognize what the psychologist diagnosis.
But the psychologist will say she or he has a learning disability.
That's right.
They won't say he has or she has dyslexia.
Some.
Some will. It depends on the psychologist.
It depends. And again, some schools are open to it. Like I said, you know, we've been across Canada training special ed teachers, and you know, they're really open to it.
But you have to remember there's 2 different types of identification. There's the identification made by the psychologist, and there's an identification made at the IPRC meeting, which follows the ministry definitions of exceptionalities. So,
but there's people who fall in the test who are not, who never get an IQ.
definitely. There's lots of people who follow the track.
Okay. So like I said, there's very welcome.